Am I the butthole for refusing to take care of my grandchildren on a trip my son paid for me? I have one son, 30 male, and two grandchildren, 4M and 5M. I take care of them 2/3x a week for 3/4 of an hour a day. I don't mind taking care of them, but it's exhausting. At the beginning of November, my son invited me to go with him, his wife, children and in-laws to travel from the 15th to the 22nd of December. I asked how much this trip was and it wasn't cheap, so I said I didn't want it, because it wasn't something I wanted to spend at that moment. He offered to pay as a gift and I decided to accept on the condition that I would not babysit my grandchildren at any time and this would be my vacation. He agreed. In a few spaced conversations, I asked why they didn't leave the children with my ex-husband during this period, as it is a very adult and romantic city. They said they wanted a family trip. BTW, my ex-husband loves his grandkids and they spent almost 3 weeks at his house once. He didn't go on the trip for other reasons. On the trip, I wasn't very proactive in taking care of my grandchildren, honestly, apart from a few well-spaced moments. My son, wife, his eels took care of the kids. I obviously spent time with them. This trip, we basically spent the morning and afternoon together. At night we were free to do whatever we wanted. I took the opportunity to visit some restaurants and hopping, alone. My son and his wife took turns with his in-laws at night with my grandchildren, because most places weren't family friendly. The 6th day, I decided to stay at the hotel, drink some wine and read a book. My son found out I was staying at the hotel and asked if I could look after them. I declined, saying I had other plans in my room. He started to complain that everyone was helping and taking turns, except me who didn't help with the whole trip he paid for. This really pissed me off. I reminded him that it was his choice to bring 2 children in a completely non-family friendly city and that I said before even accepting his gift that I would not take care of the children, because I just want to relax. We ended up arguing and he said, among other things, that I could be a little more grateful for his gift and make this concession for 3 hours for them and the eels to have a free night, but that I'm deciding to be I stuck to it and in doubt he wouldn't respect this, I ducked into the pool area the whole night. He tried to show up in my room with them cods and just dropped them. Things have been tense ever since, as he said I was in butthole the whole trip. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Imagine holding a trip over your mother's head. Your main caregiver. The audacity. Not the butthole. You explained your boundaries before accepting the all-paid for vacation. You set the expectation, he shouldn't have assumed you would change. Not the butthole, was a gift, you were upfront about no babysitting, you already look after grandchildren as it is, the comments directed at you indicate that they plan to have you babysit on the sly. I'm going to go with not the butthole. You provide a service for your son regularly by helping out with the grandkids. He agreed this would be your vacation, and they chose to bring their kids when clearly the city is not family friendly. He violated your previous agreement and you held your boundary. Am I the butthole for telling my husband that his jokes aren't funny? I, 30 female, and my husband, 30 male, have 2 small children, 2.5 and 7 meters. I am a stay-at-home mom. I do the laundry, cooking, cleaning, etc. My husband works out of the home full-time. He is careful to call the money in our joint bank account, our money for the most part, but I can tell that he's being careful too. On more than one occasion he's made a joke that made it clear that that isn't how he views it. Most recent being during a playful back and forth in which I said, "I'll bet you money," to which he quickly replied, "Oh yeah, my money? Ha ha ha." I was hurt and pissed. He immediately said he was just joking and I told him that his joke isn't funny. He's acting like it was just a silly joke, but it's not the first time he's made a similar type of joke. He said that I just don't get the levels of the joke. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Women's unpaid labor is always a joke to the men who profit from it. Until you have been at home 24/7 for more than 2 months with a small child, you have no clue how hard it is to be a stay-at-home parent. STFU. Not the butthole, he's using thinly veiled jokes to put you in your place. Pretty childish. What levels of the joke could you be missing? Let him know it's hurting you even if it's a joke. He should think of other jokes if he cares about your feelings. Am I the butthole for asking my mother-in-law to return a gift from my husband's mistress? My husband of 25 years left our family a few months ago for his coworker/mistress. I was blindsided to learn of the affair and have tried to handle the breakup with as much grace as possible, but I'm also very hurt and so are our 3 children. I should also mention that I was diagnosed with cancer a few months before I discovered the affair. He now lives in another town with a mistress. I have remained close with his family who live nearby me and were disgusted by his behavior. The mistress just gave my mother-in-law a birthday gift, which was delivered by my husband. My mother-in-law happily accepted and displayed the gift in her home. She has never met the mistress as far as I know. I was upset to learn that she accepted the gift and she has refused to return it, or at least not display it, after I expressed to her that it hurt my feelings. I know I may be overreacting, but I feel by accepting the gift she's in a sense accepting their relationship. My mother-in-law told me she's keeping it because she doesn't want to upset her son, who BTW is rarely around. Am I the butthole? Edit. A few have asked. I unfortunately have stage 4 cancer and my children are in their teens. I appreciate the thoughtful responses. I know I may be overreacting, but I feel by accepting the gift she's in a sense accepting their relationship. She is his mother, it's highly likely she's going to accept their relationship eventually. If they stay together she won't be his mistress anymore, she will just be his partner. It's understandable that it hurts you, but she's his mother not yours. Odds are high she is going to choose to stand by him and accept his relationship with her eventually. You might want to find a support network outside of his side of the family. No buttholes here, you asked. She said no. Not the butthole, but you need to distance yourself from your husband's family. I say this from personal experience. Your husband's family, while disgusted with his behavior, will eventually forgive him because his is their blood family. Mother-in-law gave birth to him, raised him. While she was probably very angry with him, that anger will subside because she gave birth to him. She will eventually forgive him because that's what moms do. Think about your children and if one of your kids did what your husband did to you. You would be angry, but eventually forgive or find a way to forgive. You are not a member of your husband's family. You may have felt like a member and been treated like a member, but you are finding out that you are not. You are the wife of their son, brother, cousin. You are his soon-to-be ex-wife, mother-in-law as your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law. You didn't grow up in your husband's family, you don't share their DNA. They treated you like a family member because you were his wife. But you are about to be his ex. So the bonds with his family are going to break when the marriage officially breaks through divorce. This is the way it has to be because you need to move on to the next chapter without your husband. They need to move on to their next chapter without you. If you try to stay as part of the family, it will get more and more awkward and difficult. They will eventually welcome him back to family events and by extension his girlfriend. You need to consult with a divorce attorney ASAP. He is not coming back. And if he does, the marriage will never be the same because the trust was broken. You and your children need to work your way through the grief and figure out what your next chapter looks like. You need to help your kids navigate their new reality while you navigate yours. You need to find and build a support system that is not linked to your soon-to-be ex-husband's family. I had ringside seats to my brother's reprehensible conduct, same as your husband. My mom adored my Sil, to the point where I was a bit jealous. I had moved away from my career, so it was easy for my mom to treat my Sil like a daughter because I only visited a few times a year. After 3 kids, my brother stepped out on the marriage. My mom was so very angry. We all were. She took Sil's side. Months went by, the divorce was nasty. My soon-to-be ex-Sil used my mom's goodwill towards her against my brother. Eventually my mom realized that no matter what he had done, he was still her son, the one she nursed when he was sick, fixed his scraped knees. My ex-Sil eventually moved on. My parents saw the grandkids, but without ex-Sil, she would drop them off when they wanted to visit. I know this hurts. It's not fair. It's not your fault. But you can't move on and build a fulfilling life by maintaining a relationship with your soon-to-be ex-husband's family because of what he did. I would suggest that you apologize to your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law. And get comfortable with these new titles, because that is your reality. I hope this helps. No buttholes here. I understand why this would upset you. It's like a symbol of the betrayal being openly displayed as a reminder of what happened and, whether your mother-in-law is okay with it or not, it's like a symbol of acceptance of the mistress, and I'm sure that's hard. But your ex is her son, and despite her feelings towards what happened, she loves him and will always want to support him. If he wants to make his current relationship work, then she will have to accept it. She's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Am I the butthole for defending my wife to my daughter? I'll start by background info and fake names to make this a little more understandable. I, 55 male, raised my daughter, 25F, Laura, alone as a single father well into her teenage years. Her mother passed when she was 3 years old. I therefore have a very close relationship with her. I married my wife, 50F, Mary, 6 years ago, and now have a stepson, 24, Harry. Laura never really got along with Mary or Harry, but she always was quite respectful. Also, they came into our lives when she was already in college, which meant she didn't get to bond with either of them. Laura is bisexual. I always have loved her as she is. She had relationships with both men and women over these past few years, but none of them were prominent enough to require them meeting me. That is, until she brought home a girlfriend of hers this year. She was with us from morning till the evening. Laura's girlfriend, 32 female, was polite and quiet through the whole time she was with us, brought lovely presents, didn't talk to anyone much, and she wasn't at all attentive or warm towards Laura either. Her phone rang a few times and she went off to answer. She's a prominent businesswoman. After she left, Mary told Laura that she was a little cold and distant overall, and that Laura deserved someone who could give her more of her time and affection. Laura got mad and said she had been with her girlfriend for 9 months and was even thinking about moving in, and that we of course wouldn't know her at all because we saw her only for a few hours and she was the sweetest person. I said Mary was right, and that I had a similar impression of her girlfriend because of how she acted around Laura as well. I told Laura she should appreciate Mary since she had the best interest for Laura at heart and there was nothing wrong with telling what we think. Laura said Mary was in no position to give her an opinion and was being rude. She left to stay over her girlfriend's house and hasn't answered my calls. So did I do something wrong to deserve being ignored like this? You're the butthole. You don't know anything about the girlfriend and are already passing judgment? I would wager you were kept away from the other significant others for similar behavioral issues and boundary crossing. Apologize to your daughter and offer to spend more time with the girlfriend to truly get to know her. WIBTA. You're judging her girlfriend over one interaction. She wasn't at all attentive or warm towards Laura either. Did it ever occur to you that she's purposely not being warm towards her because, as a queer woman, showing affection in front of her partner's parents could be potentially dangerous? Queer people never know how someone is going to react to seeing them affectionately interact. You're the butthole. Her girlfriend was probably quiet and distant because she was nervous. Meeting your girlfriend's father is a huge deal. You don't know anything about her, and it sounds like you're already passing judgment. I'd be nervous, too. Mary should mind her own business. It's not her place, and her opinion wasn't asked for, neither was yours. Would I be the butthole for calling the cops on a creepy delivery driver? I, 25 female, recently moved to a new city for a job. I decided it was time to get some new furniture as well. I went to a local furniture shop, found a decent bedroom set, bought it, and scheduled for delivery later that week. The day of delivery I get call saying my delivery will be there 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I ask if he could narrow down the time frame a little bit since I have errands to run, but want to be sure not to miss the delivery. He said he'd call when he was 2 hours out, which he did, and everything worked out. The delivery, which included assembly, was normal, nothing out of the ordinary. I was mostly in the living room organizing. We made brief small talk about me being new to town. Maybe chatted for 5 minutes? He finished his job and left, and that was that. About a week later I start getting really weird text messages from an unsaved number. What would do you if you knew you loved someone from the first time you saw them? Was first one of them. At first I ignored, then asked who the frick is this? They wouldn't answer, just kept telling me to answer their questions. Do you have a boyfriend? What would be your dream date? I blocked the number. Then I realized the number looked kinda familiar. I know very few PPL with this area code, so I check my call log back to the day of delivery, and holy crap, the same number that is texting me is the number that called about my delivery. I mentioned how freaked out I was to my friend and her BF on Nye. I brought it up to them because he's a delivery driver for Amazon, so kinda similar jobs. He said how else is a guy supposed to shoot his shot? After talking to friends they don't seem to think it's a big of a deal as I do. WIBTA for calling the police, or is that overreacting? I'm questioning what to do after talking with friends. He knows where I live obviously, so I don't want to make this guy mad, but the content of the message and the audacity to take a customer's personal number to text them personally. Clearly issues with boundaries, which is not okay. Assuming you're in the US, you should probably contact the delivery company. They'll act a lot faster than cops. How else is he supposed to shoot his shot? They really said that. Yikes. I'd start with contacting the company he was delivering for. I had a problem with an independent contractor delivery person one time, and when it couldn't be resolved with them I contacted the company I purchased from and they fixed the issue. Right now the police probably can't do much. Keep all of the texts. Take screenshots as a backup. If you need to go forward with the police because he escalates to showing up at your house or something, tell him to leave you alone if you feel comfortable doing so. Then block his number. WIBTA for protecting yourself. Also, your friend's BF is wrong. The guy could have started with, "Hey, this is delivery guy, can I take you out?" That's a guy trying. The way he's doing it is creepy. Am I the butthole for telling my BF that he ruined my night and asking him to apologize to all of our friends? My BF, John, and I have a nice relationship, the most stable one I ever had for sure. He is a great person who is appreciated by both my family and my friends and who makes me a better person. John had always been extremely patient and, sometimes too, kind. Which is why his behavior that I will talk about is bothering me a lot. For context, John lost his mother 3 years ago on the evening of the 24th of December. My parents and me live in Germany, however my parents are English, so this year, it was decided that Christmas would be spent in the UK, and of course I invited John. The 24th had been a day John always spent with his grandmother. However, the tickets were cheaper on the 24th to go to the UK, and even though I proposed to go on the 25th, John told me it was okay to leave on the 24th. So we left. The first part of the journey we were at one of my father's closest friends who just lost his wife, so everyone was in mourning and it was a difficult atmosphere. Also, the 2 days family and rest of the time alone time with John was reduced too, spending time with one of my family members every day and having no time for ourselves. Me and my siblings argued, my parents argued, siblings, me and parents argued. It was horrible, but John stayed calm and comprehensive. We came back in the morning of the 31st, slept and then spent time with some of my friends. John was okay, not himself, but not unpleasant. Afterwards we went out. John isn't particularly for that kind of music we listened to at the party, hardcore metal, but whenever I asked if he was okay he said yes. At a certain moment, we went to another party in a small venue. There was also hardcore metal. I know John doesn't like hardcore metal. I told him before. I told him he could go home whenever he wanted. He seemed pissed at a certain moment. Told me he wanted to go home. I told him stay for another 20 minutes, make an effort. This was at 4 in the morning. John then lost it and said, I spend the 24th and 25th with your arguing family. I have done enough efforts. I started crying. He told me how he would have wanted to be with his family, which he didn't express to me before then John left, and in front of my friends he gave me a kiss on the cheek which shocked everyone. I told him when I came home that in no way did I appreciate him arguing with me in public, that he ruined my B-day and that he is a party pooper for behaving in this way and that I expect him to apologize to all my friends who were at the party. TLDR, am I the butthole for telling him he ruined my night and to ask him to apologize to my friends? I told him he could go home whenever he wanted. Literally 2 sentences later. Told me he wanted to go home. I told him stay for another 20 minutes, make an effort. You're the butthole. What kind of mixed messaging is that? He is a saint for holding it together as long as he did. So let me get this straight, you took your boyfriend on an unpleasant holiday that started with mourning and continued with constant arguing among your family for a week, when you were supposed to have some quality couples time, then went to 2 different night parties where he didn't know anyone but you and didn't like the music. You told him he could go at any time, boo it, even though you'd kept him out until 4 a.m. You pressured him to make an effort and stay longer when he finally had enough. You'd try the patience of a saint. It sounds like this entire holiday has been conflict and stress and him being accommodating, and he finally snapped because you'd promised all night to be accommodating but pressured him when he finally had enough. And now you're throwing a tantrum because you finally hit the end of a generous partner's patience and tolerance. Of course you're the butthole. You're the one who owes him an apology. Am I the butthole for not making daughter eat mother-in-law's cooking? Daughter, 12 female, is a pretty adventurous eater with a very small number of foods that she will not eat. My mother-in-law, 70 female, is a terrible cook. Every single dish she makes is a form of microwaved venison. She has one dish in particular that my daughter cannot stand, enchilada casserole. For background, this consists of ground venison, cream of chicken, cream of mushroom, a little taco seasoning, and a bagged tortilla chips mixed up and microwaved for 15 minutes. We live 18 hours from Eels, so only visit once or twice a year. Mother-in-law knows that daughter cannot stand this one meal, but still cooks it for every visit, including daughter's birthday, where I, 42 female, was not present and told her she could not have any birthday cake if she did clean her plate. I told my daughter that if she cooked this dish again while we were visiting I would take her out to eat. Sure enough, that was what she served on New Year's Day. My daughter was offered an alternative of 2 slices of salami, so I took her out and her choice was a salad because she said she needed some fresh food. Mother-in-law is now pissed that we don't appreciate her cooking. Husband, 41M, married 15 plus years, refused to stand up to his mom and said daughter wouldn't starve if she missed a meal. Sills ganged up on us and said that everyone likes the dish but us. So am I the butthole for not forcing my daughter to eat a dish that mother-in-law knows she cannot stand when we only visit a couple of days a year? Not the butthole. Your daughter is old enough to know what she likes and doesn't like. Knowing your daughter didn't like that dish, your mother-in-law is the butthole for making it on your daughter's birthday, And especially for threatening no cake unless her plate was clean. Your husband is also the butthole for not standing up for his daughter. No one ever should be told to clean their plate, let alone if it's something they don't like. Good for you for being a sane adult. Not the butthole. This behavior from mother-in-law on Sills is punitive, unwarranted, and I can't see how it engenders the appreciation mother-in-law is looking for. The only thing your daughter would learn from being forced to eat a meal she doesn't like is that her preferences don't matter. Speaking up might lead to rejection and to ignore what her body is telling her. Go you. Also, 2 slices of salami? The description of that meal made me gag. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. I almost threw up when I read what enchilada casserole is at your Mills house. I'd need to eat out too. Lol smile. Look, ultimately, nobody should force children to eat. It's how issues arise later. Your child sounds like she eats just fine, she simply hates this one dish. If mother-in-law wants to make it all about her, so be it. Just tell her you can't be bothered to travel for 18 hours just to fight the same boring battles about her horrible meal. So, you decided to stay home and eat nice food instead. Good luck smile. Am I the butthole for telling my mother that she will die alone? I, 21 female, live with my mother 37. She got pregnant extremely young and my father was never in the picture. My grandparents also died young, so it's just me and her. My mother has this disgusting habit where when she got mad to someone or something, she yells at me. Not only yelling, she also tells me that she hates me, regrets having me, that I am extremely selfish and no good, etc. We spent New Year's Eve separately. She was on a trip and I was at home with my BF. She came home around 11 p.m. I was at home alone and was extremely tired because of the night before. When she passed through the door she asked me if there was any milk in the house, not asking how am I, not even saying hello. I said I didn't know because I don't drink milk usually and it's not something I checked. Then I checked and there was almost no milk in the house. She asked me why I didn't buy milk knowing she always drinks her coffee with milk. I said I'd just seen the box, I didn't check since I don't drink or use milk, and also I didn't thought that she will came home from a trip and immediately wanting coffee. She told me she had no coffee that day and I said there was no way I would knew that. So, she was yelling this whole time. That wasn't very unusual of her, but then she started telling me that I am a selfish, ungrateful, unthoughtful, worthless human being. Basically a parasite living under her roof. I know it sounds like I am leaving details behind, but I am not. She told me all of these things because I forgot to check the milk. She goes on telling me that she does not want to live with me anymore, I should just go and live with my father, that I am a burden to her. Then today came and I didn't leave my room, I didn't even eat or did anything outside of my room. She somehow find another things to yell at me, so she did just that. She saw some pans with black spots under and then just yelled at me, saying the same thing she said the night before. I tried to be calm and I even apologized for forgetting, but she just gone on and on and on about how I am a worthless parasite who ruined her life. So in the end I told her, you are an extremely pathetic person, you will die alone and I will not buy you a grave. So as I was saying, this is her habit, this is what she does, and I knew that. I knew if I didn't react to things she said she will be calmed down eventually, but I couldn't done it this time. I just wanted to hurt her the way she hurts me, even though I know this is a wrong thing to do. I just wanted to know if the guilt I feel is valid or not. I want to be a better person than her and I know mirroring her behavior is not a way to do that. Not the butthole. You're just telling her the honest truth. If she has a problem with that, then that should be the wake-up call she needs. Though, by the sounds of things she's a narcissist, and that's something that never changes. Not the butthole. Do you have the means to live separately from her? This is not a healthy relationship at all. Don't spend your life walking on eggshells all the time. Not the butthole. She deserved what you said and is probably the actual truth too. Truth hurts sometimes. Find your own place and go no contact and live your life without her in it. Stop feeling guilty for defending yourself. Am I the butthole for handing my coworker the on-call cell phone and telling him it's not my responsibility for covering his shift? I, 32 male, work a job that requires me and 4 coworkers to take turns being on call and pass around the duty phone, literally pass around an iPhone that gets called for any emergencies that occurred after hours and cannot wait. We are salary employees, so working extra on-call nights doesn't result in extra pay. This is important because that's why I didn't just say on call. I'm finishing out my last weeks in the job and have already completed my time on duty, a total of a week of the 5 weeks we have scheduled. One of the 5 people that share the rotation, Lucas, 43 male, has been notorious for passing his work off to others. He constantly claims he's new to the industry and doesn't know what he's doing. He also works a second job that results in him being the office half as much as others. We're not sure how that was approved. He also has gotten sick and called out conveniently on days there's major events going on that requires all hands on deck, leaving the rest of us picking up more work on already chaotic days. Earlier this week, I finished my last on-call shift since next Friday's my last day. We hand off the phone every week at 4:30 p.m. on Friday. At 4 p.m. Friday, I was shooting the breeze with one of the higher-ups, and caught Lucas leaving the office. I assumed he was leaving early due to the holiday, so I walked out to give him the phone. He looked surprised to see me, started stuttering about him not feeling well and needing to rest this weekend, so he couldn't take the phone and I needed to keep it. I reminded him that since I was leaving I had no remaining on-call nights to trade for. He then asked me to do him the solid. I then handed him the phone and told him there's 4 other people he could switch with and it's not my responsibility to find coverage for him. He then went to our boss complaining that he couldn't be on duty and that I was being unreasonable for not covering his shift. My boss called me in the office and stated I should do them this favor and cover the weekend. I reminded him that I'm leaving next Friday and already completed all the on-call I was scheduled for. I then pointed out that there were 4 other people who still work there and could possibly switch with him. I'm moving to another state in 2 and need to get things done. After hearing the commotion, the other higher-up took the on-call phone to end the issue. My boss said he's outraged by my lack of teamwork and I was making a horrible last impression. I told him I've been happy to cover for any one of my coworkers who actually did their job. Well, now my boss scheduled a team meeting to go over teamwork expectations and what our roles are. I may have gone too far in my comments, so am I the butthole? Not the butthole. I have to ask, who is Lucas sleeping with to get such preferential treatment? Your actions and response are quite reasonable in my opinion. I'd be sure and call in sick for the upcoming team meeting. A horrible last impression. Ha! File that in your who gives a flying frick drawer. Not the butthole. They're trying to use you on your last weekend. Am I the butthole for storming out of my own birthday party? I'm pregnant with my second child and have gestational diabetes and have been observing a pretty strict diet to keep my baby safe. Anyway, it was my birthday a few days before Christmas. My mom is a really good cook and baker and it's a tradition that she asks us what cake we want on our birthday. I said I'm diabetic, so please can I have one of those cheese boards that looks like a cake instead. She said people want something sweet. So I suggested strawberries and whipped cream, which I can eat. At my party she pulls out sugary cupcakes. Normally I try to just suck it up and try not to be the annoying person that tries to make everyone else suffer for my diet. In fact, I'd quietly just not eaten anything that wasn't suitable for the rest of the party and been really accepting of the fact that everyone else was getting drunk when I obviously can't. This was just too much for me though. So when the cupcakes were served, I quietly went and sat in the other room. My husband came and found me and sat with me. Mom is now upset and says it was embarrassing that they were going to sing happy birthday and I wasn't there. I know it was immature, but I'm grumpy and pregnant and also I have a Christmas birthday, so already have a few hang-ups about my birthday getting lost. Am I the butthole? Edit. A few people are asking if the cheese platter or strawberries were on offer alongside the cupcakes and the answer is no. That would have been fine. And yes, there was food I could eat at the party, just not at cake time. Not the butthole. She sounds like the type of parent who pretends to care about what you want for your birthday, disregards your requests, and then screams eat what I put in front of you to make it look like you were demanding and she's the victim. The fact that you asked for something specific due to health reasons makes your mom look like even more of an ah. Don't validate people like that. You had every right to leave the room when she started serving cupcakes. Not the butthole, and your husband sounds like a gem. Am I the butthole for asking my mom to just go along with my fiance's boundary even though it is hurtful? I am currently planning a wedding with my beautiful fiancée Annie. My mom and Annie had a May relationship. They aren't crazy about each other, not particularly close, but they don't have many issues. My mom and I have never been close, so it isn't like one of those crazy mother-in-law situations, just everyone is lukewarm about each other. Annie has an anxiety disorder and does attend therapy, though it is not entirely under control. She tends to worry about situations which are very unlikely to happen. Annie recently found out that my mom at one point intentionally spilled something on a bride at her wedding. Now this was decades ago. She was 16 and absolutely obsessed with my father, who rightfully wanted nothing to do with her since she was 16. She was extremely jealous of his first wife and accidentally spilled something at the reception. Annie only found this out because my dad thinks it is a funny story to tell. My mom was a completely bratty, out of control teenager who did mellow. Well, the issue is Annie now is worried my mom could do the same to her. I tried to reason with her that my mom in no way hates her and why would she? Annie admits it isn't logical, but claims she can't help it. She says my mom doesn't love her either and some mills just get like that. She set a boundary that my mom can't have anything in her hand if she approaches us at the wedding. My mom is obviously hurt as she would never do something like that. I get it as a hurtful assumption, but I asked her to just suck it up and deal with it. It is Annie's big day and she doesn't need any stress. My mom said I was treating her like she's crazy for something she did in high school and it is hurtful. My dad, who is paying for the wedding if it matters, is absolutely furious and currently won't even talk to Annie. I get their point, but I am still asking them to just suck it up and go along for one day. You're the butthole. I have an anxiety disorder. It isn't up to other people to accommodate my distorted thinking. Your fiancé is experiencing distorted thinking. Your mother has never done anything to harm your fiancé, and holding the bratty actions of a teenager over their head 40+ years later is pretty ridiculous. We don't indulge distorted thinking. We use coping skills to see that thinking for what it is, and then employ even more coping skills to tolerate distress. Info: your mom, when 16 was at your dad's first wedding. And was so obsessed with your dad that she spilled a drink on the bride's dress? WTF. Now you have a relationship with your mom. Dude, get some therapy to unwind this effed up origin story for your life. Your fiancé needs help, as requests like this are only going to get worse and more unreasonable down the road. Having a rule that your mother isn't allowed to hold a drink in her hand around you is ridiculous. It's condescending, and treating your mother like she's a child because of one small thing she did when she was a child. You're the butthole, and I can guarantee your fiancé will continue to push requests like this onto you in the future since you folded to this one. Am I the butthole following my mother's last wishes and excluding my brother? Throwaway account. I, 30 female, have an older brother James, 34 male, who is the product of my father's affair with a coworker. At the time my mom was having fertility issues and was deeply devastated when she found out that my dad had not only cheated on her but was also able to get another woman pregnant. She filed for divorce but was pressured by her church and several family members to forgive my dad and eventually caved when she found out that my dad's affair partner was going to put the baby up for adoption. While my mom admits that the first year was rough, she was able to love and accept James as her own, and many people viewed me as her reward for showing my dad forgiveness. Growing up, I never imagined that James wasn't my full brother because my mom adored him so much. Eventually, my mom found out that my dad cheated again, but this time followed through with the divorce. James and I were very upset about what our dad did, but James seemed especially angry and often clashed with our dad about it, and in a fit of rage he told James that my mom wasn't his real mother. My mom tearfully admitted to the truth when confronted. James was 16 at the time, and it was always my mom's intention to tell James the truth at 18, but he was still upset on the matter. Out of spite, James didn't go to college like my mom wanted and moved in with friends, barely talking to either parent. Eventually it was discovered that James had reconnected with his bio mom, and to make herself look good she painted my mom as a crazy woman who forced her to give James up so she could get a baby, and James believed her. At 21 he called my mom an evil woman and wanted nothing to do with her ever again, and she broke down. I became estranged from James over this, especially since he found it in his heart to resume a relationship with our dad. Last year my mom found out that she had cancer, and when she tried to reach out to James he sent her a voicemail reiterating that he thought that she was the worst and, again, wanted nothing to do with her. She didn't even get the chance to tell him that she was sick. I was enraged, but my mom begged me not to say anything to James or my dad, that she had finally accepted he didn't love her anymore and just wanted to focus on her health. I honored her wishes, and when she found out that she was terminal my mom still insisted on not reaching out to James. She passed away, and I was so angry that I didn't even tell James or my dad about the funeral. Well, James found out, and imagine my surprise when he called me in rage about not knowing that my mom was sick and how he didn't know about the funeral until weeks after it had happened. I hung up and sent him a copy of last voicemail he ever sent her before blocking him. A few days later I had to go to court because James was suing me over my mom's estate, but he got nothing. He's still angry at me for not telling him about my mom's passing or the funeral. So am I the butthole? Not the butthole. You respected your mom's wishes. She tried to reach out and he shut her down. Your mom couldn't stand the idea of getting hurt even more, so she asked you not to contact him to avoid the risk of him declining again. It's normal for your brother to feel guilty afterwards, but the fact that he took you to court within a few days shows he doesn't really care about your mother and you, only about the money. Not the butthole, not even a little. The way he treated her was disgusting. He's upset because he earned the consequences of his behavior. The courts have even decided in your favor. Believe people when they tell you that you aren't wrong here. I also understand none of this makes the situation better. You lost your mom, and the final loss of your brother is also very real. I hope you're able to find time to take care of yourself and heal. Not the butthole. Can't turn your back on someone and then freak out when you aren't told information. And to then sue you in an attempt to gain something from her estate? Mind blown. He has guilt. There's not much you can do about it. Maybe if he calms down, you two could attempt to talk about things, but he is wrong to expect something from her after all this time. Am I the butthole for mocking my mom? I, 36 male, started flirting with my best friend, 36 female, in high school after she came out to her parents. My mom and her mom were convinced that all she needed was male attention. They thought that if we dated she would decide that she liked dudes. Being fully aware that my best friend was a lesbian for like 5 years at that point, I went along with it after talking to my friend. We would flirt with each other around our parents. And it would always end the same way. With either me saying it was too bad she was a lesbian that wasn't at all confused about her sexuality, or her saying that it was too bad I had male genitalia because I was the perfect girl for her. It just became part of our friendship. I never once thought it would lead anywhere, and she knew for a fact that it was all a joke. But for a little while our moms didn't get it. So it has been 20 years now and we still do this when we get together. My wife knows all about it and accepted a long time ago that I was going to do this. My friend's wife thinks it's hilarious that we do this because my best friend is a gold star lesbian. The only people who do not think it is funny is our moms. Her mom has finally, reluctantly, accepted her daughter for who she is. She treats her politely and loves her adopted grandchildren. My mom has apologized to my friend for trying to convert her. My friend accepted and my mom hasn't brought it up since then. But over Christmas my parents had a big party at their home. My best friend's family was there. We did our usual flirting when we saw each other. My mom and her mom cornered us and told us to stop being buttholes. They said that the joke has gone on long enough and that they get it. We said that we understood how they felt, but our friendship and how we express it isn't really their business. Let me be clear. We do not only do this in front of our moms. It is just how we are now. When I'm 80 I will still flirt with her. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. This is hilarious and a great inside joke that you and your friend share. Your moms don't like it because they're the butt of the joke, but that's their fault for trying to fix your friend. Not the butthole. Our friendship and how we express it isn't really their business. This is spot on. There's no statute of limitation on inside jokes with friends. My father-in-law and his brother kept on doing the same jokes, behaviors well into their 80s, even if some in the family rolled their eyes at them smile. And despite the mocking my mom title, it doesn't sound like you mention or target her directly anyway. Not the butthole. As you said, you are no longer doing it with the intent of it just being a joke on your mothers, and it's now become a natural part of how you relate to each other. Your mothers might not like to see the flirting now, but they'll have to wrap their heads around this along with everything else. Not the butthole. It's become an inside joke for you two that's been ongoing for so many years. The joke will never end now. It will always be funny. They pushed you into it anyway, so now this joke will last a lifetime and they have to accept that. Am I the butthole for cutting my cousin off financially? My cousin has a son who is 5 years old. She oftentimes complains about how much it costs to raise a child, and I've helped her out numerous times buying clothes, food, toys, and medicine for her son. Recently I found out that my cousin somehow managed to buy a car for her boyfriend who's cheated on her multiple times. After learning this, I've decided that I will no longer help her out because she complains about buying food for her own son but is willing to spend thousands of dollars on her trash boyfriend. Am I the butthole for stopping my financial support? Not the butthole. If she can afford a car, even a car less than $1,000 for her boyfriend, then she can afford her kid. Not the butthole. She's a user and this is the only way they can learn. Warning though, she probably won't learn. She'll find someone else to leech off and tell a story about how now even my family are trying to keep her in difficulties or some bullcrap. Not the butthole. Sounds like she's been playing you. Am I the butthole for leaving behind Dino poop stains for housekeeping to clean up? I, 35 male, and my wife, 34 female, are on vacation at a nice island resort. We've been having a great time, and of course have enjoyed the wonderful food here. Unfortunately, with great food comes great consequences. After a lovely dinner on the beach, the next morning I had to take what my wife calls a dinosaur poop. I did my business and flushed, twice. Unfortunately I managed to leave behind a smear of fear inside the toilet. It was quite noticeable, but the toilet was not clogged and the rest of the toilet and bathroom were clean. Please note the hotel room does not come with a brush or other device to clean the inside of the toilet. I did not try to do anything further to clean up because we were leaving for the beach soon and I knew housekeeping would come by to clean up. We were leaving for the beach when my wife informed me that she had discovered and physically cleaned the smear of fear herself with wads of toilet paper because she was grossed out by it and concerned what the housekeepers would think of us. She has also told me this is not the first time she's cleaned up my Dino smears in other hotel stays like this. I had no idea. I do not think I did anything wrong, but maybe she has a point. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. What? Your wife took her bare hand into the toilet bowl to wipe your crap smear. Stop with the cutesy Dino poop term, barf, again. With her bare hand? And housekeepers expect guests to clean inside of the toilets? Without a brush? Okay, now I'm really confused. Not the butthole, this isn't an Airbnb, it's a hotel. They don't give you anything to clean with because it's not your responsibility to clean. P.S. Your wife's got poo hands. Duh. Who the frick cleans a toilet without the brush and cleaner? Not the butthole, this fight is insane. If you left waste on a seat, floor, or anywhere outside the toilet, absolutely clean it up. But it is not common courtesy to call down to the front desk for a toilet brush or use wadded toilet paper. It's above and beyond in paranoid ways, and it'd talk to your wife about why she is so concerned about housekeeping knowing you poop. I really do not understand the perspective of any WIBTA vote here. And I am willing to bet most of them have never called down for a toilet brush so they could clean the toilet so the housekeepers aren't seeing the toilet dirty. Am I the butthole for not wanting to be around my nephew, and their whole family, because my brother thinks I'm going to turn him gay? I am gay, it's no secret. I was trying to spend time with my nephew and nieces while I had time between jobs, but I've completely given up on them now because my brother is such a complete bigoted butthole. It started when I tried to get an easy bake oven as a dual gift for him, nephew, and his sister. They were 11 and 8 respectively at the time. I told my brother I was going to give this to my nephew as a dual gift, but it was on his birthday. We were doing a separate party for just the family, and then my nephew would get another party with his friends that we wouldn't be at. So I get asked to come over and speak to my brother before the party because I tell him I was going to give nephew this gift. He basically goes on to say that easy bake ovens are girly and that if his friends saw him open that present, what would the other boys and parents think, which in and of itself is horse crap. He goes on to talk about how if any of my kids are in the middle it would be less than niece greater than, not less than nephew greater than, like he had some way to decide which of his kids would be queer. It shouldn't freaking matter what they are, they're kids and they'll figure it out later, and my brother should just be supporting of whatever they are. I obviously was extremely disappointed in my brother for this, and I ended up texting him the next day at the gym and giving him what for about what he said the day before. I explained to him that it not only hurt that he would think that's my motivation to buy his kid an easy bake, but really that it shows what you think my motives are to be involved in my nephew's life. Mind you, I didn't even pay more attention to him than my nieces. My brother gives me some hogwash about he understands why I'd feel that way, but that he is in the right for what he said, and then goes on the defensive. I just straight up say it, I'm tired of you acting like you think I'm going to do something inappropriate with less than nephew greater than, and you're being homophobic anyways since you don't give a crap about me spending time with less than niece greater than, and he just replies and confirms that to be honest that is a concern. It was at that point that I was so frustrated with my brother I decided to just not even be around them anymore, especially if he believes that bigoted crap. I don't need my own brother lodging around false allegations. These kids are homeschooled and not allowed to have friends. So they have us and their cousins, and that's about it. So I kinda feel like an butthole for not being around anymore, but when my own brother who's known me my whole life truly believes that crap about me, it just makes me not even want to be near them anymore at all. Am I the butthole? Specifically to my niece and nephew, since they really like me but I don't go visit them anymore. WTF, so your brother is accusing you of being attracted to your nephew and behaving inappropriately towards him? Also, his children are homeschooled and now allowed to have friends? This sounds very dodgy in my opinion. Not the butthole, but I felt a bit uneasy reading this and concerned for the welfare of your niece and nephew. Maybe I've been reading too many of these stories on Reddit. Not the butthole. It's probably not safe for you to be around your nephew because heaven forbid the child turn out to be gay. You'll suddenly get blamed for it. People who are this bigoted have really weird, almost superstitious beliefs. Kid wants to act in the school play? It's because of his gay uncle. Kid wants to sing in choir? Well, yeah, because his uncle is gay. Kid majors in art when he goes to college? You get the picture. You don't need that in your life. And BTW, the last time I saw an ad for an easy bake oven, a boy and girl were pictured. All humans who like to eat should probably know how to cook. That was a really good joint gift. 8 is too young to use it alone, but definitely an 8-year-old and 11-year-old can use it together. You're a fun uncle. Am I the butthole for not watching my language in front of my niece? I, 40 male, have a brother, 35 male, who has one kid, Angela, 16 male. Angela is autistic and very into drawing and art in general. She's really hard to have a conversation with unless you are talking about pens or markers or Photoshop. But she's pretty cool all things considered since she related to my lame little brother. Dude is a total buzzkill, ever since high school. I'd party in college and he'd tell my parents when I came home drunk. So anyway, I'm a bona fide Disney adult. I love everything about. Not sure why, but I think the parks are really fun and I love just down the street from them. Angela knows this, and for my birthday in December she made me a gift. My brother prefaced it as really darn weird and said I needed to pretend to like it. I was fully prepared for a weird fetish art or something based on the unflattering description. I opened it and it was a print of this freaking insane space battle with Buzz Lightyear looking photorealistic fighting Zurg. I do love Toy Story, but I didn't like the Lightyear movie, but whatever. I said, holy freaking crap, this is freaking rad. Holy crap, thanks so much. I gotta put this son of a jerk on my wall. I know it was that because Angela has repeated my praise to my brother about a dozen times and once to her friends. Brother is embarrassed and I am too. He called me an for not watching my mouth and embarrassing him. I do agree it should have watched what I said, but I really did love the picture and it's literally sitting in my living room right now. He should at least take partial blame for being rude about his kid's art. Not the butthole. She's 16, not 6. It seems like you made her day. And her dad sucks. Ha 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 ha, not the butthole. Yes, watch your language for frick's sake, but your pure and sincere enthusiasm more than makes up for your bad language. Sometimes autistic kids struggle with reading emotions, so your really enthusiastic, swear word filled response may have actually been helpful. She could easily tell you were thrilled. Is there anything better than that? Worth it in my opinion, because you're probably going to get more cool artwork.